It's a Quake.
Hello and welcome to It's a Quake podcast, where we, the youth, take charge of our own interest in the media by growing and developing it. And this podcast is brought to you by Namibian Media Trust. And today we're going to be tackling media literacy. And I've got two wonderful experts with me here. I'm talking about Jemima, with a decade of experience in the field, as well as Tangi, a media literacy trainer. So it's going to be a very interesting one. Now, today is not very serious. I was saying this, yeah. So we're going to try and skip the formalities of honorable and miss and madam. But I would like to say thank you so much for taking the time to join me during this.
An absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much, Tangi. All right, now obviously, like we said today, media literacy, fact checking, very, very important, you know. And as someone who's worked in the media for over 10 years, I'm looking to dig deep and find more information from you and what you can tell the people about this important topic. But Tangi, let me start off with you. Why is media literacy so important? What are the benefits of being media literate?
I think it goes down to understanding what media literacy is, and a lot of times I don't want to go in the context of media literacy can be defined as the what and what and what. I think there are certain things that are key when you talk about media literacy. You talk about competencies, you talk about skills, you talk about knowledge, and you talk about implementation. All of these things are key in the sense that as a young person, you need to have certain competencies when you are dealing around the media world. As a young person, you need to have certain skills when you say, I have a mobile phone, I can WhatsApp, I can Facebook, and all of that. As a young person, you need to have the knowledge when I say I'm watching the news or I'm reading the newspaper. And you need to have a certain aspect of implementation when you then say, as a young person, I want to consciously take my own actions by putting my post out there or giving my opinion about this news I had, about this content I received. So it's very important, because when you have these skills, this knowledge, these competencies, you can take conscious decision as a youth.
All right, interesting one there, Tangi. You see, Jamal, we talked about skills, knowledge, and competency, but you being in the media field, obviously these are things that you learn before you get into the field. Now, why is this important as well for the end user of, let's say, your articles to be media literate, as he's
So thank you. So we've seen how the internet in the last few months basically was streamed by with articles, reproduced articles or manipulated pictures. There's been a number of pictures that people would use. Say, I know there's been pictures used from war-torn countries that they would reproduce and say, no, this has happened in Namibia, for instance, and it has created widespread confusion. And even now with the vaccines, it has become a matter of life and death, where people were told in fake articles that the vaccine will give you a microchip, or you will be injected with the virus itself, and people didn't go for the test. And we don't know how many people actually ended up critically ill because they were told by fake articles or fake news spreaders that they shouldn't go for this.
Yeah, interesting one there. Even in the modern times, we talk about COVID-19 and vaccines, and there's so much information on the internet, it's scary. I mean, when you go onto the internet and you just want to look for something, you never know what really is what it is. So Tangi, if we talk about fact checking, you know, and this is something, as the word is self-defined, you know, checking the facts, is this really true information? Who is essentially responsible for this? You know, because many young people, we don't really know, like, is this for real, or is it true, or is it not correct? Who do you think is really responsible for this one?
I think the problem lies with our mindset in upbringing. Our mindset in upbringing is that there are certain specific roles that are meant for certain specific individuals. Same goes to the family setup. Same goes to upbringing in terms of the boy and the girl child and all of that. Same mentality has gone into the media world, in the sense that we are now consciously defined to believe that it is the responsibilities of journalists to fact check information or to put information, the factual information, out there. Yes, they went to study for this, but then we are now in an era of citizen journalism where information is no more in the hands of journalists alone. In fact, it's been observed that lately it's we, the people, that receives information first, and even before the media gets to it. Before the media gets there. So I would say fact-checking is not just the sole responsibilities of journalists, as we've been traditionally mindset to believe, but it's the responsibility of every young individual, or every individual within a society, because every information that goes out there is subject for it to be verified, and you as a young person need to take the conscious effort to be critical and ask yourself, this information that I've accessed, I need to know what are the necessary skills. I need to analyze it. I need to reflect on what information is being put out there. I need to create what I feel is the right information, because at the end of the day, then I'm taking a conscious action to not deceive or confuse the society, but I'm taking a conscious action to rather educate and inform and rather empower the next person. Because for you to combat the grave influence of social media on our society, it's then your sole responsibility to fact check every information you receive, you get, and you also want to put out there.
Wow, I love the energy that Frankie brings.
Let me also add on that before we
I was going to bring that to you, Jemima, because you're working in the field of, creating, I would say, the movement for people. You create the mindset of what people are going to be consuming, basically. You know what I mean? As the media, we know when we see the front page, this is what we're going to be talking about this week. So what can you add on to what he's just mentioned there of saying, fact checking, just as it says, very, very important. Now, when you've been in this field, what are some of the repercussions of not fact checking? So
not
people
only
can just
repercussions, we have come to a point in Namibia where truth is indeed stranger than fiction. And I've seen how even educated people and journalists themselves and scholars who should be able to discern between fake and real news, even they have fallen prey to this. I've seen a number of people that would share or even forward some of these altered news articles and say, oh wow, do you believe this? And I think it is very important, especially from journalists and scholars and influential people that should take this very seriously, to take fact-checking also very seriously. And I think we should really go out there and educate people about fact-checking. There's a picture that is doing the rounds, and I think it has really gone viral. The picture of Biden kneeling to a child. People say that is the child of George Floyd. Some people are saying it is not. I think before we as journalists, scholars, we forward these kind of pictures, we must make very sure it is what it is. And you see this being perpetuated every day.
Now, what are some of the tips you would say you can give someone at home watching this? How can they fact check? We can be saying this easily and saying, verify, but maybe somebody has no idea where to start from to say, is this real information? So what are some of the steps you think we should take when we consume this media?
So on the internet, you would be able to find some fact-checking resources or websites. For you to be very sure that this is indeed a credible resource, it would be best to go to credible institutions like your Reuters, your institutions like your universities, if they have these platforms available, and use that to fact check your pictures. If you find a picture of the Namibian sun or the Namibian, a front page on the internet, and you're not entirely sure, and then you call the newspaper or the journalist that you know at that particular place and ask them, is this true? Can you please verify for me? I think we must really go that route. Like I've said, misinformation has become life-threatening, unfortunately.
And to add to that, Google has made life so simple. There is an option where you can literally drag this image, go on the image section and insert this image, and you will receive every information which regards that, even if it's a picture that has been used before, even if it's a picture that you will receive a lot of information about that just by inserting a picture. We have our fact checkers Namibia, we have our fact checkers Africa. These are institutions that are designed to always debunk fake, false news or disinformation or misinformation within our sectors. Why don't you go onto these pages? It's very concerning that we are so driven by the shares, the likes, and the retweets that we then tend to forget the impact of what the shares, the likes, and the retweets has on the next person. And it's high time that as young person, especially when we are talking about the word press freedom, they're coming up, that we should take conscious effort to be conscious in our mindset. We should be deliberate. It's that time where you start telling yourself, I am sharing this thing because I know it's either going to destroy someone or build someone. And when we are deliberate, we cannot say, oh, I didn't know, and then, oh, because I'm a young person, why will you blame me?
Hey, I love that. You two are doing a stellar job here, giving us a nice insight there, into fact-checking. So hopefully you're taking some of these tips and are using them, not just as somebody who's going to sit back and then create, a false let me see, a false sense of news out there that we've been seeing a lot, from vaccines to various headlines of people who are not even arrested, and we've seen in WhatsApp groups as well. WhatsApp has made it easier to see if something has been forwarded a lot. I like the way tech companies are also helping us in this regard, to show you that this article or this picture has been forwarded a couple of times. It may be a scam. So yeah, but now at least we're moving on from that one. Let's talk about something very important in terms of the media sector and the world at large, the Windhoek Declaration. Can you believe that? The birthplace is right here. And what a way to celebrate it, because World Press Freedom Day 2021 is going to be celebrated right here. Now, speaking about the Windhoek Declaration, Jemima, why should young people be interested in the Windhoek Declaration? Maybe you can just give us an insight on what it is. Somebody might be hearing this for the first time.
So the Windhoek Declaration has basically set the bar, the tone for free and pluralistic press. At the time that it was adopted, many countries on the African continent, Namibia itself, it was very difficult for independent media houses to set up, because at that time it was people believed in government sanctioned, and I mean, why would they not? Because many countries were driving towards dictatorship or autocratic systems, and after the Windhoek Declaration was adopted, many countries moved towards a positive image, where they have now adopted independent newsrooms, independent presses that really pushes for democracy. Unfortunately, there are still countries that still do not have free presses, and I believe as young people we should really push to make sure that other countries really become as free as Namibia is. Namibia also is the freest press on the continent. I mean, that is something that should be celebrated. But I've always been one to say that we don't put this to test too often. Yeah. And I think as young people, we should push for. We should push the barriers. We must make sure that this environment that is created here, we use it and we test it. We must make sure we do this, not for ourselves, but for other countries and for the future generations that come afterwards.
Jemima highlighting that very importantly there. We've set the precedent in terms of, being a country that's showing the example of free press. For us to be number one is not that easy. That means that a lot of people have made this possible. Now, Tangi, just to add, what would you add on what Jemima has mentioned there? For young people, why should they be, in fact, even get to know or read the Windhoek Declaration? Because I feel like many people probably haven't set their eyes on that if they're not even working in the media fraternity.
I would start by putting that caution to say that where one's freedoms end is where another person's own begins. And I think as much as we are in this celebration mode, it's then a call to action to young people. And I really love this year's theme for the World Press Freedom Day, because there's one of the key pointers that are there, talks about media information literacy. And the reason why this is so important, especially when we are talking about the freedom of the press, Namibia being the freest country, means that we are not being arrested for putting information out there, the right information out there. We are not being challenged by the government for being able to speak the truth and speak the right thing out there. But the question is, as a young person, does that then mean that you have then the freedom to abuse or to infringe on another person's rights based on your freedom?
The president did say something on that. He said we are, what's the word, abusing. He said that a few weeks ago during a press statement of young people are kind of like maybe abusing the right that they have, and maybe he was referring to the fact that people don't actually check what they say.
Exactly, and it's not basically the fact that, yes, we have those that definitely put out false information, but I think the main thing is how people take advantage. We've had a lot of stories on WhatsApp groups where people defame other people's characters in WhatsApp, and believe because there is freedom of the press or freedom to speak or freedom to say what you feel like, you can do that. Whereas media information literacy teach you the conscious effort to know that whatever you do within the media sector, you should check it. You should criticize yourself. You should query yourself, the first person, before you then go out there, before you then pick up your phone, before you then go and stand in front of the camera. So I think that is why this Windhoek Declaration is so important, because it draws us back to that call to action, especially to young people, that yes, it's 30 years, yes, we are free, yes, Namibia is the freest in the continent, but as a young person, should that freedom then infringe other person's freedom? Should you then not be conscious enough to know that every information I put out there I should reflect on it, that what does it do to the next person.
I think, Jemima, this coffee probably cold by now, isn't it? Like, because, since we started, I've not seen you taking a sip.
It's
but okay.
fine, we used it cold coffee.
Yeah, we're going to be wrapping it up now. So thank you so much. Media literacy, you've highlighted that so well. In fact checking, you spoke about a lot today, and just briefly as well, what should young people, know about the media before they get into it, whether it's TV, radio, writing, what do you think they should know?
I think the first thing I would emphasize is, first of all, they can go to the Media and Information Literacy Learning Initiative page on Facebook, mainly Namibia it is. And it's unfortunate that we are in a space where media information literacy, it's something that we have to be hitting hard on people to come and learn. Like we've hosted a lot of workshops in Namibia, but it's still not getting that attention that it deserves, because at the end of the day, people do not know that there are 5 elements, or we call it 5 dimensions, that we feel media information literacy is key, which is the access to the information, which is the analyzing of the information, which is the creating of your own information, which is then the reflecting on the information we create, and which is then taking action, either in form of sharing. Until you understand this dimension as a young person, I feel even if you're going to be a journalist, even if you're going to be an accountant, even if you're going to be a musician, whatever sphere you find yourself, if you would not understand this dimension as a young person, every time you receive information, you are subject to either mislead others or to mislead yourself in information, in the information sector. And it's unfortunate that we are in a world where we are overloaded with information and we are bombarded with information. But I say, make sure that you keep this in mind, that accessing information, analyzing every information, creating your own right information, reflecting on the impact of the information you create, and acting consciously, then you help yourself.
I don't know about you, but I've learned quite a lot today. Thank you so much, Tangi and Jemima. Wow. I mean, it's a Quake podcast, and if you're just joining us, I know you're going to want to join us for the next one, innit?
Yeah.
I'm sure you're also going to be wanting to know more about this, and make sure you follow Namibian Media Trust to find out more about It's a Quake podcast. Of course, Vindic Declaration is what we've been speaking about today, as well as fact-checking, media literacy, and it's very important for us as the end users, the consumers, and also the people who, push their opinions about us. Because with Jemima's writing what she does for us, in the end of the day, for us to know what is going on. So we also need to have the responsibility to make sure that what we read online and what we share is correct and accurate. So once again, thank you so much.
Thank you
so much for having us.
Next time I'll just ask you to give me the president's number, innit?
Since she has all the contacts,
Yeah, just chasing ministers down in the shop, man. I love that. Well, thank you so much for joining us on episode 1 of It's a Quake. Until next time, peace out. My name is Paul, and have yourself a lovely week. Whatever time you're watching this, it's a podcast, Nyana. Anytime, yeah?
Anytime.
Peace out.
Quake.
It's a Quake.